This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief live here on the Blood Red YouTube channel. Liverpool concede late to miss their chance to go into the top four ahead of Chelsea versus West Ham later this evening. Matt, we'll start with you. It all seemed to be going so well, and then not too dissimilar to Leeds conceding a late goal to drop a couple of points right at the death.
Yeah, not too dissimilar, to be honest, to the whole of 2021, really, for Liverpool, particularly at home. They had a host of chances. They should have been 5 or 6-0 up in the first half. They should have got a couple more in the second half, but they just missed and missed and missed. And the longer it went on, you just fancied that they'd probably at some point concede a chance. Obviously, in the first sort of instance, we thought that they'd conceded to Callum Wilson. VAR comes to Liverpool's rescue, and still, even after that, they managed to mess it up. So, yeah, it's a huge missed opportunity. I think they were probably joint favourites with a couple of other teams to get into the top four. But as soon as you see a position like that and a performance like that and a lack of ruthlessness, really, for all over the pitch for Liverpool, I think it becomes suddenly much more difficult, and suddenly you're starting to look at other matches like tonight and hoping that, you know, West Ham and Chelsea ends up a draw. I mean, it really shouldn't have to go down to that sort of thing. The way that Liverpool played and got themselves into positions today, they should have been absolutely out of sight. But as I say, we've seen it time and time again this season. They just don't take the chances. And when you've got a patched up defence, a team is going to get an opportunity at some point. And you know, I said it during the game, as soon as Callum Wilson came on, you thought, you know, he's not going to be as wasteful as Joe Linton and Almiron and one or two others. He was the one who really started to create more clear-cut opportunities for Newcastle. They obviously got themselves into positions already earlier in the game, but as soon as he came on, you just fancied that they'd take one, and ultimately it did prove to be the case.
Yeah, a massive missed opportunity, as you said there, Matt. But Theo, we survived a late scare with the first goal that was ruled out for a handball on Callum Wilson. But really, Liverpool only have themselves to blame in the sense that it should have been game over by half time.
Yeah, it's very much 2 points dropped, isn't it? If you look at all the chances, if you're being kind to Newcastle, Salah should have had a brace, Jota should have had a brace, Mane should have had a brace. You had that wonderful volley from Trent. Firmino was unlucky not to score at their far post when he had that little volley as well. There were so many chances, and it just shows that they're lacking confidence. And these are chances you expect players of their quality to score week in, week out. Like you're thinking Salah one-on-one, and he just wants to have it on his left foot and does a little toe poke straight at the keeper. Or Mane, he takes about half a dozen touches and then just keeper picks up off his toes. Liverpool have thrown this one away, and now it's not in their hands for whether they can get in top four. It wasn't anyway, but this makes it even tougher for them. I wouldn't quite go along with the fact that you say it should have been out of sight and that Newcastle didn't get anywhere near it, because they had chances too. While they didn't have the shots, they were unlucky. They were getting in behind the defence. For whatever reason, Liverpool's back four could not defend in a straight line. There was always someone playing them on side. Kabak, he looked like he could have been sent off. He was looking a bit dodgy at times, wasn't he, when he'd had that early booking? And it was only a matter of time, I think, before Newcastle did score. The way Liverpool were wasting these chances, I'm not sitting here thinking, despite all these chances, that Newcastle didn't deserve anything from the game, because they played well. They've basically picked up on what the form they've had in the last few weeks. They've been getting results, they've been grinding it out, and they've not been giving up. You can see what it meant to them at the end. But Liverpool, still with the quality out there on the pitch and the chances they created, they should be doing more. They should be having those 3 points in the bag. And it shouldn't be a case of you're thanking VAR for controversially disallowing a goal at the end if the equaliser hadn't happened. This just sums up their season, really, doesn't it?
It does. And looking at the wider picture then, Matt, we'll come back to you. But Liverpool had the chance to move ahead of West Ham and Chelsea ahead of their game tonight. But just looking at the table now, Liverpool remain in sixth on 54 points. You've then got West Ham and Chelsea directly above them with a game in hand, both on 55. For the kind of wider context of the season now, how would you rate Liverpool's chances of making that top four?
Well, as Theo says, I mean, it's out of their hands, isn't it? I think looking at the final 6 games, including this one as a block, you sort of looked at Manchester United and thought that's one way you could maybe afford to drop points. But pretty much the other 5, you really wanted Liverpool to go and win all 5 of them on paper. They should have been able to do that. They should have been able to win today. But the fact that they've not done that today makes you think maybe, the confidence has just taken a little bit more of a knock. Maybe they're not going to go and win some of their other matches. I think at the very least what you'd say now is that they have to have the last 5 matches. And to be honest, can we see Liverpool putting together a run like that? I'm not 100% sure that you can. I think the most that they've won consecutively this season is 3 in the Premier League. They've not managed more than that all season. They are pretty much 100% now going to have to manage at least 4 after Manchester United to give themselves any hope. I think there is still hope in the fact that the other sort of teams play each other. They're going to take points off each other. You look at Leicester's last 3 fixtures, but at the moment, it's not really a case of if you look at everybody else's fixtures and feel confident. It's more a case that you look at Liverpool's and think, well, so far the evidence this season is that they probably won't get their own job done. So, yeah, as much as we'll look at the other teams and we'll hope that West Ham against Chelsea is a draw and things like that. I mean, ultimately, it will come down to whether Liverpool can start putting those chances away because, I completely agree with Theo. I think defensively they were all over the place today and we know the reasons why that is. But, they can't give away those sorts of chances. But even if they do, they should be scoring a lot more. So, yeah, it comes down to being clinical in both ends, in both boxes. And ultimately, you just don't really have any confidence, I think, in Liverpool being able to put the ball in the back of the net. And even though their fixtures are kinder on paper, that just isn't the way it's been working this season.
You've both touched on the defence looking a little bit out of sorts today. Obviously, there were reports last night that Liverpool were kind of closer down the line with regards to signing Konate from RB Leipzig. But Theo, you looked at the centre-back partnership today, Kabak and Fabinho. Do you think it's an area that's kind of really obviously needs boosting ahead of next season? And what do you think Kabak's chances are of being at Anfield next year as well?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer because if you're in a world where Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez and Joel Matip are back fully fit and there's not any setbacks or anything and you can rely on them to be fit next season, you can rely on them to be straight back in top form rather than taking time to bed in again, then Liverpool should be fine defensively. Granted, they might need another centre-back, and if it is Konate or whatever, that is options. They've got that strength and depth. It's only when you take away those options that they look so out of sorts. And it's just like today, well, they don't drop those points if Van Dijk's playing because he's a leader at the back. He's got that pace there. He just gets an extra level from all those players. What I don't understand is why they can't defend in a simple line. Like we've all played football at Sunday League, schoolboy level, and it's your fullbacks who control that defensive line. And whether it's Trent or Robertson, like Robertson's captain of his country, surely there should be some communication there to hold the line. And it's just like, well, Kabak, we know he's not the quickest. Why is he pushing up that extra yard? So one of them is not doing their job correctly. If it's the 2 men being deep or it's the 2 men pushing up, and there just needs a look along the line to scream someone to take charge. And Liverpool don't have that at the moment. It's what they've missed with Van Dijk. It's whether you think Konate could come in and be that, because we know, we've said it in the past, Joe Gomez takes time to get back to his best from injuries. And when this is such a serious one, he'll probably need a bit of time to bed in again. Joel Matip, we know Liverpool cannot rely on him. He's had too many injuries by now. And Virgil van Dijk, he still is the best centre-back in the world. And he has had a serious injury before, I think, like 6 months before he joined Liverpool. But are we expecting him to be a Rolls Royce of a player straight away on day one? It's a big ask on him. If anyone can, he can. And then it's like, if that's the choices, you need to look to that 4th player. And Kabak, I know Jurgen Klopp said that he will be a captain one day of a club, and he is this leader, and he's a young player, he's raw, he's got all this talent. He's just so hot and cold. He's a good player, on form on his day, and he'd be fine as a 4th choice for Liverpool when the 3 centre-backs ahead of him are fully fit. Like, you put him in the Europa League games if they're going to end up in that competition now, and you wouldn't have any issues with him bedding in. But if it's a world where he's going to have to be first choice for half a season, it's very risky. It's just going to be one of those. Someone needs to take charge of that defence. It is an open audition at the moment without the first 3 choice centre-backs. And you wouldn't say Kabak's come out of it, scream and say, yeah, this is sorted. They don't need to sign Konate. There is no decision to be made. There is a big decision to be made this summer. And Jurgen Klopp's only fortunate that he's got a few chances to make when they do it, whether they go for Konate straight away, if these rumours are true, or if he waits to see what Van Dijk, Gomez and Matip are like in pre-season and then judges then. But we saw this season when they left at the last minute after offering going, blew up in their faces. You just need to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Before the drama of the final few minutes, then we were set to come on air and spend a fair chunk of time talking about the brilliance of Mo Salah and what an incredible season he's having. His 29th goal today. He's moved up to 12th, I think, in Liverpool's all-time top scorer list. He's only been here for less than 4 seasons. Obviously, 2 golden boots in this time already. I mean, Matt, we're watching one of the Liverpool all-time greats, aren't we?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the finish, the touch, the turn was absolutely brilliant today. But I think it's been the case on a few occasions that it's been Mohamed Salah who's been absolutely brilliant, and maybe one or two others have let him down really alongside him. And I think that's again the case today. It's another one of those goals that you'd love to look back and sort of look back on with a smile, because it deserved to be a winning goal today. But ultimately it hasn't, and that is the bigger story and the bigger picture, isn't it? I mean, imagine where Liverpool would be this season without the goals of Mohamed Salah. He's just been by far and away their best attacking player. I think he scored, what is it, sort of 15 more than any other player, something like that this season. I mean, it's just incredible, really, the numbers that he continues to put up. I mean, he's not really scoring any differently to any other season at Liverpool. When you look at the rest of the team, and it's completely different, which I think tells its own story in terms of how much he creates for himself and how clinical he can be. Because you look at the other players, and there's maybe an excuse for one or two of them not being at their best because there's a couple of other players missing around them and that sort of thing. There's no excuse needed for Mohamed Salah. He's just continued to do the business all season, and yeah, I'm sure a new contract for him will be in the pipeline at some point in the next few months, because it's got to be an absolute top priority for Liverpool. I think he'll want to stay. I'm sure that that Liverpool would want him to stay, and hopefully that can be one of Liverpool's big signings this summer.
I will come to you both for this. I'm going to ask you to put your necks on the line. So currently outside the top 4, 5 games to go. Do Liverpool qualify for the Champions League?
Go on, Theo. I'll let you go first.
Don't ask me this, because when I've been asked on this channel before, will Liverpool win the league? I've said yes. At like Christmas time, we know what happened. A few weeks ago, I was asked if they're going to finish 4th, and we've seen what happened. It changes week on week. And we're all miserable now. In 3-4 hours time, we could be buzzing off a great Chelsea West Ham result for Liverpool. They could go and shock Manchester United and get a win, and then it's all in their hands again. It does change on a game by game basis, and it's even more telling that you don't know what Liverpool's going to turn up on a game by game basis. It's just impossible to call. If you do it as a traditional Liverpool in a normal season, yes, of course they do it. They win games at Anfield. They've got the easiest fixtures to come. They've got the quality, they've got the talent, they've got the experience. But then it's when you throw in all these other elements, that the fact that they're struggling to win at Anfield, they're struggling to score goals, the defence is a mess, they're dropping points against the teams that are lesser behind them in the league. It's just, I'm feeling negative today, so I'm going to say no. Ask me on Blood Red on Monday, and I'll probably say yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yes, just about. But I think it's very much reminding me of the first season that Liverpool just about scraped into the top 4. They gave it, a decent go that season. It's been a very different season this season for obvious reasons, but it just felt like the last few games they just about edged over the line. I think we're at that point of this season that if it does happen, there's going to be a nervy few moments. There was, I think, a 1-0 away win at Watford, wasn't there, that season, with the Emre Can overhead kick. We're going to have to see moments like that. It's come to that this season, I think, for Liverpool now. They're going to have to do something that maybe looks a little bit unlikely, but yeah, let's just see. There's still enough time for them to turn it around. They certainly had enough chances today to think that, if they can create in a similar way moving forward, you've got to hope that 1 or 2 more of those would go in. But yeah, I think the overriding emotion at this moment in time for Liverpool fans will just be complete and utter frustration, because it could have been in their hands and it very much isn't now.
Absolutely. Well, a big moment for Liverpool and the rest of the teams chasing the top 4 finish. The final closing moments at Anfield today. But as it stands, out of Liverpool's hands. We will be watching on Chelsea-West Ham later to see what happens in that. As you say, I think a draw would certainly be the best result for Liverpool now. But that's it from us here on the debrief. Thank you, Matt and Theo, for your time. Do stay tuned. We have Jurgen Klopp's reaction coming up very shortly. But until next time, it's bye for now.
This is the Blood Red Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.